Joining us now is Marc Short. He, of course, served as chief of staff to former Vice President Mike Pence and White House Legislative Affairs Director during the first Trump administration. He's currently board chair of Advancing American Freedom. We look at how quickly this happened, how different the message was just hours ago in Davos when the president was on the stage. We've been talking about since this came out. It feels like we're back where we started.
Well, to me, it's one of the least surprising events of the day that, the president has often been one who takes a position out here as leverage and negotiates back here and claims a large victory. And we don't know the details here. There's potentially something on the mineral rights that we were not aware of that's coming to light. But it was clear that Greenland was offering us access to continue to rebuild our bases or offering access to the mineral rights. So we don't really know yet. Maybe there's something there, but it does seem to be a quick U-turn from the president. And, I think that there's more of a financial implication here that, when the president announced Liberation Day back in April, it was the bond markets that spooked him. And what we saw yesterday was the European nations threatening to sell U.S. treasuries. And even though the equity markets suffered, you saw interest rates go right back up. And the administration is facing a challenge politically on affordability. They're trying to make the case to Americans that things are affordable and they're lowering costs. They've announced promises to have Fannie and Freddie buy hundreds of billions of dollars on mortgages and tell private equity they can't purchase multiple homes. And so when you see those rates spike like that, I think it's concerning to them.
Europe, the biggest owner of U.S. debt, holder of U.S. debt, right?
$3.5 trillion.
At Bessent, the Treasury Secretary had said it defied logic that they would start dropping those bonds. I wonder if you think the president was getting maybe some different counsel in private.
I think that's the case. I mean, would they have sold $3.5 trillion? It's hard to say they would have done that because it would have hurt them too. But you saw Swedish pension funds basically unload theirs. Yeah. You saw Danish the day before, and then Sweden this morning. And so there was a sense that maybe this is a bigger concern. And again, the markets reacted.
You also had today, we also learned that this deal between the EU and the U.S. when it comes to tariffs, this deal that had been worked out back in July, all of a sudden that was put on pause too.
Right.
What do you do you think that could have also played a role today if we are talking about, we're talking about finances here?
We are, and I think you've seen that the president is responsive to how markets respond. You even saw it in his remarks today, commenting about the market being down a little bit yesterday, but soon you'll see it at 50,000 and then 100,000. And so, he's attentive to the way markets respond, and I think that that does indicate a lot of his actions.
So I know you say that we've seen the president take this tack before. Yeah. But have we seen it on a stage this big with a objective so outlandish as taking over a sovereign territory before? Is there anything about this one that stands out to you?
I think that's fair. But I think that there's I don't think that they've made the case as much as they could have about why Greenland is in our national interest. Mm-hmm. They simply said it is. But, to make the case about Russia and China incursions in the Arctic, to make the case of what they believe is there as far as rare earth minerals, to make the case of why they need it for the dome. But it's fair to comment that, we threatened military action at some point to retreat from that.
What do you make of where things stand in terms of the United States relations now with these European nations, with NATO, with other NATO members, including Canada, from what we've seen? Doesn't mean that this sentiment hasn't been brewing there for some time, but it has certainly been more forceful and more public in the last several days.
I think that, Erica, one of the challenges I remember in the first administration, I think that President Trump was very successful in uniting public opinion against China. And that even included Canada. I remember we took trips to Ottawa to make the case to sever their relationship with Huawei. And what you've seen in the last couple of weeks now is Canada saying we're going to import Canadian goods and electric vehicles tariff-free. That's the danger of some of these games, is you end up pushing our allies into the hands of our adversaries. And I think that's a big challenge if Canada is now going to look to have a stronger trade relation with China. China's the bigger threat here. That's why we want to have Canada and the EU on our side.
Yeah, I guess that's the question. Are there U.S. gains here by this approach that we have seen when you see other leaders sounding alarms like Carney has?
I think there had to be sort of a reorganization in the EU, but I think it's a very fair question that you say, is this going to produce the longer term benefit for us or not? And again, I think the first administration was very successful in rallying these countries to say our real threat comes from communist China. But right now, it seems that we're creating adversaries with some of our former friends. And at the same time, we're allowing TikTok, we're allowing sale of chips to China, we're allowing all sorts of concessions to China.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Mark, always good to talk to you. Thank you.
Yes.